Assalamu alaikum. I welcome you all in this video. Today we are going to discuss about the two core characteristics in mollusks. So what you are looking at is the octopus and a snail. So all these animals belong to the phylum Mollusca. In this video you are going to assess that mollusks are triptoplastic. By triptoplastic means that they originate from three layers: ectoderm, which is the outer layer presented over here as blue color circle, followed by the mesoderm, and then there is a white cavity which is called column, and then in the inward portion this yellow ring, it represents that endoderm which is responsible for gut formation. Now this column is basically a cavity, and this cavity surrounds three core organs: heart, nephridia, and gonads are being encapsulated. But by and large, heart is covered, and this is called pericardial cavity. Okay, so this cavity formation represents a generalized feature for phylum Mollusca. Now, if we talk about mollusks, the first foremost thing we come across are usually noticed by us are the snails. Now, snails are appearing as the creatures walking on our lawns in aquariums are generally noticed. Now, in the snails contain two regions: head and foot region, which is muscular region. Then there is a visceral mass. Now all the body organs are enclosed in this visceral vicinity, so they are labeled as visceral mass. Now the mantle, which is basically represented over here as ring of green color. Now this mantle is responsible for gaseous exchange and also facilitates by forming a cavity which is called mantle cavity, and this is responsible for the excretion, gas exchange, and elimination of digestive waste through this. And snails have a bilateral symmetry, so they can be cut like a human from one eye to 1/4 sections. All right, now they have an open circulatory system. Now what is interesting about the mantle is that in oysters this mantle is actually forming, it is responsible for forming a layers. Now these three layers: periostracum, prismatic layer, and nacreous layer. Now this nacreous layer usually secretes nacre. Nacre is responsible for pearl formation. So over here this green pouch-like thing, which is bivalve class Bivalia belonging, and it is generally called oyster, is having these pearls inside them, but it is a rare event. So 1 in 10,000 oysters may contain a pearl like which you noticed across, and that might be really expensive. $1.3 million could be the price of a pearl, and that is actually formed by the release of a nacre, and this nacre is composed of, released from a nacreous layer, which is the innermost layer of a mantle. Now this mantle over in snails is responsible for gaseous exchange, but in oysters this is responsible for pearl formation. Interesting Mother Nature's work. Now, and the last interesting thing which we would like to discuss is the mouth of a mollusk. Now, how mollusks eat. Their eating habit is largely dependent on these tooth-like structures. They are called radula, and they are mostly behaving as a conveyor belt-like thing. And on the tongue, which is bluish in color, have a cartilage in it. So the snails have a cartilaginous bone-like structure which is called odontophore cartilage, and this cartilage helps in scrolling end of this radula in one direction. So the mucoid mass ingested by snail travel through esophagus to the stomach, and the whole digestive system is ciliated. That means a directional flow of the food from one way to another happens. So there are no peristaltic movements we are noticing so far in snails. Now this radula is the most primitive or the early formation of tooth, followed on a conveyor belt. Okay. Thank you very much for your time and attention. If you have any questions, please feel free. Stay tuned. For the pearl formation, you can go and check my other video belonging to class by Velia.